All right, with it being right at 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Jolene, could you please take roll?
Council members Erickson,
Present.
Larson,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Valento,
Here.
Mayor Roberts.
Here. If you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. First time here, approve the agenda. I'm going to make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda, moving item 9A to the regular agenda and deleting item 9B. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Agenda. We have no awards and presentations this evening. Next item is 6, open forum. This is an opportunity for anyone to come speak to any city-related item. We ask that you state your name and address and keep it to around 3 minutes. Right, with no one here to speak, we will go to the consent agenda. I am going to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda 7A 2 through 7B K.
Just to be clear, Mr. Mayor, are you asking that the entire consent agenda be approved except for 7A3?
Correct. Yes.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda approved. So I am pulling 7A3, invoices for potential conflict of interest. Is anyone interested in making a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda item 7.3.
I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Go, sorry.
I'm sorry, I do have discussion. Can you explain why you pulled it from the consent agenda, just so I have an idea?
Yeah, so those, that particular item are invoices that my business had provided services to the city, so I'm going to abstain when we
Got it.
make that up.
No problem, thanks.
Approval. So, all right, so with no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention. We are to the regular agenda, action items, and we have a public hearing on Forest Hills Preserve related to drainage and easement, utility easements. Abby.
Thank you, Mayor Roberts. Members of the council, tonight we are here, Jay Johnson Development proposed to develop the Forest Hills Preserve neighborhood kind of at the eastern edge of Forest Lake. Development, the council approved the final PUD, the final plat in May of 2021. As part of that agreement, there was grading to occur south of the right-of-way, south of homeowners' lots. I'm gonna just pull that up. In an easement area, so it would be a drainage swale, be in the backyards of these properties that would lead to a retention pond or a larger system. Really designed for conveyance. As the property developed out, grading occurred outside of that easement area. And what the city did is worked with the landowner to reestablish a new grading plan that would be fitting for those properties, convey the water still to where it needs to go, and then worked towards drafting a new easement. So tonight for your consideration is kind of a threefold request. The first item is to hold the hearing on the vacation of the drainage and utility easement that was platted as part of Forest Hills Farm. Then the next thing that city would need to do is to approve the grading agreement as part of a DA amendment or a developer's agreement amendment. And then lastly, approve the new easement that is encumbered by over 5 properties, again, conveying that water to the ponding areas. luckily, we have a great legal counsel who helped wrap this up into a single resolution that I apologize wasn't in the packet for you, but is on the dais tonight for your consideration. It is resolution number 07292507. So tonight, what staff would be seeking would be a motion to conditionally approve that resolution, which would vacate the easements, and then approve the first amendment to the development contract for Forest Hills Preserve with J. Johnson Development LLC. Do you have any questions?
Any questions of staff?
Maybe the only thing that comes to mind is we're vacating 4 lots, but the new easement will be over 5. What's leading to that?
That is correct. I would defer to the engineer, but I think what I can say is the grading is going further into that western lot. That helps just convey that water across all 5 of those properties in a better fashion than it did with just the 4. You might be able to,
Basically, the houses just wanted bigger backyards, and they had ample space on their lot to relocate the drainage utility easement that then it'll drain, continue to drain westward where it goes down into that regional pond.
Awesome, thank you.
Right, if there's no other questions of staff right now, we can follow up with some other questions if need be. I am looking for a motion to open the public hearing this evening at 6:06.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we have a public hearing open at 6:06. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? If you wouldn't mind, come up and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mary Fowler Wackles, and we're at 10047 211th. Do you know what block that is? Lot 6, I guess. And I'm just wondering, I mean, how this is different. Right now, our lot drains to that back where it runs down. It naturally has kind of like, I don't know if I want to call it a ravine, but it,
Swale.
yeah, it naturally goes there. So how would this be different?
sure. So up on the board, I have what is the existing easement is on top. It was a very straight east-west easement, and that line was supposed to kind of bisect the property pretty much straight in half. When the developer builder graded the lot, they graded it so that in your backyard still bisects, but it kind of heads to the southwest slightly. Still there, but gives you just that little bit more backyard that you already have. It won't change the existing conditions of your property. This is an existing developed property. It's just solidifying the grading plan and that ravine that you, or not ravine because not the big drop, but that swale in the backyard where the water is draining through.
So is it going to go further back
the
into
south.
the hill?
Yes,
So the hill is going to be
the hill will not be impacted. This is on top of the hill. So I'm going to show
on top
here
of
the
hill.
grading plan. This is your property right here.
Ryan, would you say it's just fair to say that this easement more follows the existing drainage pattern?
Correct. How the developer graded the lots was pushing the water to an area that wasn't in a recorded drainage utility easement. We acknowledge that it makes perfect sense where the grading occurred on the lots. We just need to make sure that the drainage utility easement is encompassed over that area where the grading or the drainage goes. So in the future, say a neighbor to the west of you wanted to build something where we would prohibit that to be built there because then it would block drainage utility easement or drainage onto your lot, right? Now we have an area where we can reserve where drainage can continue to flow where it does today, but it's in a legal easement.
And for reference, the easement area, the area where the drainage is lawful to be, more closely follows the tree line than smack dab in the center of your backyard.
Otherwise, we'd have to grade a swale closer to your back patio. So all that nice green space you have, we'd already be sloping off your patio right away. If we put the drainage swale within the old drainage utility easement.
Okay, so am I understanding this correctly? So where the easement is supposed to be the top of the hill, where the top tree line is?
That's where the new one is
That's
at
where
the
the
top.
new one is.
It used to be 20 feet off your patio. You would have had the water and drainage of the neighborhood running through that backyard, that close to your patio. It's pushing it back to the tree line, keeping it further away from the homes.
So it sounds like it's going to be fairly similar to how it is flowing now at the
Correct.
base of the hill at,
So what happened in your circumstance is the builder came in with a development plan and a grading plan and implemented that plan as to how you had wanted it. But the drainage was pushed further to the south than what was originally anticipated. So what you have today, the existing conditions you have today is exactly as it will remain. And now that drainage will be in the lawful easement area.
okay, so are they going to be regrading some of
No,
that?
not on your property.
None of it is changed?
None of your property is going to be changing. This is legitimizing the actions that were already taken.
Okay, so it's just, okay. I just wasn't sure. I'm like, okay, so
Yeah.
what are they going to do?
So you're both comfortable with that explanation then, at this point?
It sounds like it's pretty much the same. I mean, we still have some concerns with guidance that we'll have to take up because we kind of do have an area in our yard that's problematic with the water sitting there. And I hadn't brought it up because I knew, kind of heard of this going on, and I thought maybe it'd be addressed. But it doesn't sound like it's addressing that, so I'll have to contact him to see, are they gonna regrade that part?
Sure. I did give you my card, and so I think let's plan to connect and find a time to sit down and just talk about what those concerns are to see if there are further actions that are in some way in violation of the building permit or the development agreement, to make sure if there's a role the city can play in helping rectify that issue, we can help you in some way.
Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you for coming tonight. Anyone else here to speak on the issue, the public hearing? No one else here to speak? I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So at 6:13, we're close the public hearing and go back to council and staff for any other additional questions or follow-up. Great. With that, anyone willing to make a motion on, we have one, sounds like one resolution, is that correct?
One resolution that will vacate the easements and accept the new ones, and then a second motion to approve the development agreement amendment.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to conditionally approve Resolution 07-29-2507, resolution vacating 4 public drainage and utility easements located within Forest Hills Preserve and accepting revised drainage and utility easements located within Forest Hills Preserve.
Motions are second.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anyone interested in making a motion on the development contract amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve the First Amendment to development contract for Forest Hills Preserve with J. Johnson Development LLC.
Motions are second.
I'll second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8B, Public Works Space Needs Study, and Mark is going to kick us off on that.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, we had an opportunity to discuss this item at the work session last week and had a couple chances prior to that as well to go over these 2 items. But item 8B is to accept the Public Works Facilities Space Needs Study. So that would be kind of If you're ready to move forward into this next phase here of design, we would ask you to sort of accept the first phase of design, which was the space needs study, and just formally make a motion to accept the findings of that. And then the second item that we'll get to here in a minute is to move forward with the actual design work of the next phase. So any questions anyone has? We have our architects and engineers and construction managers here to answer any questions you have on the findings of that study. I'd be happy to address any of those issues.
Any questions, thoughts?
I mean, this is something we've talked a lot about through workshops and different engagements. I'm certainly in agreement with the study and the findings. You know, I look forward to this next phase where we get to actually put pen to paper and get to maybe what will be a actual facility.
Comments?
No, I'd agree.
With that, is anyone interested in making a motion on approving the Public Works, accepting the Public Works Facility Space Needs Study?
I'll make a motion to accept the final space needs study for the Public Works building.
Motions are second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the next phase of this, the Public Works Facility Schematic Design Contract. Mark.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, this next item is what architects refer to as moving to the schematic design phase of the project. As you see laid out in the proposal there's a number of different phases, each with a sort of a percentage of the total effort laid out. And this phase really gets us to a much more detailed level of investigation into the facility and into the costs of that facility. Start to get some of the design elements. We'll start laying out the site a little bit more accurately and with a little bit more detail. And you're really gonna have a much better understanding of you know, some of the choices we'll have to make in terms of design and cost and all those type of things. So again, the proposed fees are kind of laid out a little bit more boldly in my memo, so they don't get lost in the 18-page proposal. But you know, this is a significant investment, and as we discussed at the workshop, this really only commits you to this phase. You could stop after this phase. You could stop midway through this phase. But we really, staff feels strongly that this is, as long as the council feels strongly about the site, and we've explored other sites and we've done our due diligence there, as long as you feel the same that staff does, that we are ready to commit to this site, then it's certainly prudent to move to the next phase here. Again, if you're not comfortable with this site and you want to continue to explore other spots, now is not a good time to move forward with this, because we're going to start to design this site, and that effort will be lost if we move to a different site. So, but otherwise, yeah, staff and everyone I think is on staff is fully aligned that we feel good about this site next to the county facility. I think there's some synergy there. We do think there's a great opportunity to be able to carve off a fairly sizable chunk of this site for potential, some type of taxable development. Commercial, or you look at the comp plan and decide whether or not there should be a change to some other type of things, you know, maybe a multifamily or something like that. But for the most part, we think we can find some sort of taxable use for, you know, maybe 3.5 to 5 acres of that northwest corner of the site. We're also working with the neighboring property owners to kind of see if their sites fit into this overall design, and that's something we'll be able to explore more broadly in this phase as well. So we're excited to kind of explore that, road alignments and that kind of thing.
Just, I guess for public's knowledge, we have gone down a couple of workshops and working through this process. Our public works facilities are in rough shape. One of the buildings is from the 50s. We really, for the safety of our employees and employment of different genders, we really do need to make a change here. We have looked at the current site up on 4th. Also, the city-owned property on the corner of 202nd or County 50 and 61. And I think after that last workshop, and that's part of the question Mark has for us, is that council was in agreement that the preferred site or the better site to be used is the south site. And so maybe, Mark, just a little bit of history on how many meetings we've had. I don't know if you know off the top of your head, just so public is aware that we
think
have
this-
really vetted this.
Yeah, this space needs
point.
study, this, pretty much this final version with a couple of tweaks here and there, I think has been in your packet at least 3 times. So one of the benefits of moving to the next phase of your packets won't be quite as thick. But, no, I think, you know, and this even, engaging these folks to complete the space needs study even predates me. I mean, it goes back to at least last year sometime, or early this year, I'm not even quite sure, but it's, you know, I mean, at least half a dozen meetings, I would say, we've probably discussed some form of this. Yeah, and we've explored the existing site, the site down by the county there at 202nd. Really actually explored this site we're sitting on here too as well. If you recall, there was a version, an option that kind of maybe took the parking lot between us and the dollar store there to facilitate some expansion there of this facility and see if we couldn't work something that would work there. So there's been a number of different options. I think, you know, some of the things we weighed were the location of it in terms of efficiency. I think one of the things that came out of the space needs study for sure was the idea that we want to be in one facility with our public works. Not right now, we have things at 3-4 different places. But we certainly looked at the location and the efficiency to the rest of the town for plowing and for response to our lift stations and those type of things. And then sort of the redevelopment potential, right? Like if we use the existing site, then we could develop down at the 202nd site. If we use the 202nd site, we could redevelop the existing site. Looked at some of that balance and what the impacts to those neighborhoods would be, what the appropriateness of this use would be in those neighborhoods. And I think those factors all kind of weighed into where we're at today. And I think you've done your due diligence. I think moving to this next phase is the right step at this point in time.
Other questions or comments you'd like to make, Council? So, you know, the public's going to hear some pretty substantial dollar amounts tied to this project. Again, we've kicked this thing down the road too many years. We're going to work real hard in trying to get it more of a reasonable price tag and look at some creative financing to help offset so it's not fully on the general levy taxpayers. So with that said, I'm going to ask anyone interested in making a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to execute a contract with Wold Architects and Engineers to perform schematic design services for the city's future public works building and the city-owned site at the city-owned site on Highway 61 and 202nd Street with a fee not to exceed $321,000 inclusive of expenses.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Regular agenda item 8D. I asked to this to be put back onto the agenda. I was not present at the last meeting. I did review the meeting, and the decision was that it didn't carry with a 2-2 vote. We did direct staff previously to move forward with an agreement with the owner at 8241 North Shore Trail. So it has put staff in a little bit of a quandary as to what direction to go at next steps. And so wanted to bring it up back on to talk about what next steps would be and if there's any interest in revisiting that decision. So I don't know, Mark would like to add anything else to
You know,
that?
what I would just add is that staff had this on the agenda because of what you said, which is that, okay, we made a decision at the last meeting to not have the parallel parking there. That sort of implied that we would then put no parking back there. Unfortunately, of course, this whole shining a light on this issue has given the light to the idea that maybe that no parking wasn't lock solid like it should be in ordinance. properly signed, all that kind of stuff, so that it could be enforced. And so staff was sort of coming back to this issue, not to revisit a vote necessarily, but to say, okay, we're gonna put no parking, does that mean, and just sort of checking in, does that mean we're gonna sign it? Are we just gonna sign it there? Are we gonna extend that zone out a ways so people aren't just parking a block down and walking? So just some of those logistical concerns, you know, as to the direction forward. So that's why it was on the agenda. Certainly if the issue wants to be, you know, brought up again and re-voted on, then staff, of course, has a different set of questions that will go down. So we just don't want to take any unnecessary twists and turns and put effort into something that would eventually be put in a different direction, so.
So with that, I guess, you know, again, I was not present last Monday or 2 Mondays ago. So I don't know if there's any thoughts on the council that was here to answer some of those questions, or what you think next steps might be best, if you've thought that far, or any additional feedback.
Well, I guess personally, I'd like to see us move forward with the agreement that we had directed staff to create. Largely because, I think for 2 major reasons. One, we know there's a parking need out there, and while this doesn't by any stretch of the imagination solve it, it helps. And the conversation has been around, you know, do we allow parallel parking? You know, it's a busy road, does it make sense? And our new design for Eureka includes parallel parking that is built in, and it's gonna be right in the right of way. So if we're not gonna do this there, then we probably need to rethink that argument in other parts of the city, because that's a much busier road with truck traffic even than what we experience out on North Shore. Again, I parallel park in different parts of the city that are very busy, fast-moving vehicles, and it's, I guess from a safety standpoint, I don't feel like it's a major safety concern. Not to say that there's not the potential, there always is, but there was when people were backing in or, you know, parking diagonally there as well. So I guess I'd love to see us kind of revisit this and maybe give staff that opportunity to execute that agreement and move this forward to help, you know, just to help gain clarity, and that's consistent with other parking in other parts of the city.
Mr. Mayor, council members, excuse me, I'm open to revisiting this, you know, this option. What is concerning to me is we are going to reward bad behavior. And we have another person that's coming to our council that owns a business on the lake that is also not following kind of the rules. And what's concerning to me in this case is the owner of that property, without permission from the city, went out and put down a bunch of material and started using our public right-of-way for his personal business without our permission. And now they're here asking us to approve that, and not only that, maybe pay for it. So again, I don't think we should be rewarding bad behavior by, number one, paying for anything for a business, even though I can see in some cases where that can be beneficial. But two, rewarding them and giving them this parking now after they basically started parking there without permission. That was my main reason for saying no. Do they need parking? Absolutely. Am I pro-business? Absolutely. I think it's a great thing. But again, this is a conditional use permit business in a residential neighborhood. And it's not the same as some of these other areas where we have commercial businesses when it comes to parking and road space and turn lanes. There's not a lot of space there. And so those were my concerns, and I was more concerned about safety than anything, but again, rewarding bad behavior. I thought it was very unfair of them to just go ahead and do something without our permission. That's my thoughts.
So then, I guess what staff's asking, and what are your suggestions in moving forward on the parking and all the rest of that? Like no park the whole thing, or just?
Well, if we open the discussion again and it's approved, I guess there is no discussion. If we just leave it as the way the vote was and it failed, my guess would be we would have to put the no parking signs back up in that area where they were, because there were some there at one time that were removed, just like the no parking signs that are over by the boat launch that are there for a reason. Because again, those are residential neighborhoods and they didn't want people parking all up and down the streets. I get it, North Shore Trail, we need to have places for cars to park. A lot of those people don't have big driveways, they don't have a lot of extra space. But it's a lot different at a business when you could have potentially 15 cars parked out in the right of way. So that would, if this isn't going to be approved, which it's not at this point, I think we would have to put no parking signs there. Or if we can come to some agreement, maybe it's only used for employees only. And maybe it's posted, employees only, and their employees park there. You know, you have a challenge with that business. You've got the owner of that business, the building, who leases out a bunch of dock space. So you've got those cars that are parking there. Then you've got the restaurant business, and their employees have to park somewhere, which takes up a lot of space just between those before you even bring a patron in there to use the business. So I get it, there's an issue. But, you know, maybe we need to somehow designate those spots because there isn't as much movement with employees coming in and out of the business. They get there at a certain time, they're there for a certain time. Maybe they park there and the patrons can park in the lot. That might be a safer option than having people coming in parallel parking, driving in and out all the time. So I'm open to discussion on it, but the way it was proposed and when I heard that potentially we were paying for something, I was not in favor of that at all.
I don't know if anyone, for the record, was that ever previously marked no parking and then removed? Because I don't recall that. It was.
Yes, it was, Mr. Mayor, it was marked no parking. I think the question that came to light was whether or not it was designated that way through ordinance. Could have been 30 years ago when it was township, you know, could have been a lot of it. Our research didn't indicate that it ever was, and as our research can do.
And I'd asked the staff to check into the conditional use permit, you know, when we issued that conditional use permit way back when. But with Aqua, I seem to recall that that's where the no parking stuff came in.
Mayor, if I might just add to the conversation, I did look through the permit history, the use permit history there, and its amendments over time. Consistently throughout them all, the reports reference sufficient parking or meeting the parking requirements. There was nothing of there are no conditions of approval that refer to reassessment of parking, adding new parking, anything like that, aside from whether or not there'd be substantial changes. And if staff determined there were substantial changes, that a use permit amendment might be necessary. Because the improvement was made in the right-of-way and not on the subject property, it was my determination that we couldn't call this a substantial change and reopen the use permit because the activities weren't occurring on the subject property. They were occurring in the right-of-way. Hence why we were kind of, I don't want to say waiting, but until the time that the Class 5 was placed or the gravel was put in the right-of-way, we really didn't determine there was any sort of zoning matters we could take action on. I will also note we have received an approved agreement or an executed agreement from the adjacent landowner. I haven't spoken with them with regard to payment, but they have signed that they are willing to pay for this regardless of any public assistance. It was brought up at the last meeting that an application was made to the EDA for consideration of up to 50% or $10,000. I don't remember exactly how that subset of the EDA's program would fund this. But at that time, the EDA wasn't certain that they wanted to fund this and wanted to see what the council's appetite was for the improvement itself. Sharing that again for the record, I know Mayor Roberts wasn't here for some of that discussion and input at the last meeting.
And certainly I don't want to put a lot more burden on our police officers and people to police that area and have to deal with that we have enough things to worry about. But those were my major concerns.
Maybe, Mr. Mayor, at some point, you maybe want your attorney just to weigh in on how it looks to bring this motion back up if you do choose to do that. I don't know, Amanda, if you want to share some thoughts around that, the logistics of that.
Yeah, so Your Honor, Counsel, if you recall, 2 weeks ago when this came up, the motion failed for lack of a majority vote. There's some ambiguity around how you can recall something that you've already voted on. Typically, there'll be some sort of bylaws or Robert's Rules of Order or something that dictates how things should happen if you want to, for example, recall a vote. We don't have any of that in our code, and as far as we can tell, that doesn't exist. So that's good and bad. It's good because that means that there's a little bit more flexibility in this situation. As your attorney, I would advise that that's not a great plan moving forward, and we might want to adopt something as our rules for how we want to operate our meetings. That's for a different day. The other issue that you do have right now is there's new information. And specifically, the information that I believe the city administrator provided to you last week around the fact that we don't have an ordinance that prohibits parking on North Shore Trail right now. And absent that ordinance, the signs are great, but they're actually not enforceable by the police as they currently are. We would need to pass an ordinance. So there is new information, generally speaking, under Robert's Rules or most other systems that would govern how the city would operate the meeting. New information is a reason to reconsider a previous vote. This is new information because now you kind of have to, you just have to decide if you are actually going to prohibit parking on North Shore Trail. And if you are, that requires additional action. If you want to move forward with something with this property owner, that will also require additional action. So those are the options that the council has right now. Does that help?
And so just to kind of bring it all around,
Yeah.
if someone wanted to revisit the motion, it would simply be a motion to reconsider.
Yes, and if I recall, was it Councilmember Erickson who made the motion last time? Yeah, so he could make a motion that he would like to revisit his motion. We don't have to do that because again, we don't actually have rules. So, but generally it would be the person who made the original motion.
Can I weigh in?
For sure.
When I've done this before and been involved in these types of things before, and I know we don't have a specific guideline, it sounds like, but usually it has to be someone from the prevailing voting member. So in this case, where it was 2-2, that means it failed, so it'd have to be one of the two that voted against it that would have to revisit the motion to bring it forward again. Normally, that's how it works.
Yes, that would be correct under Robert's Rules.
Question, if we just decide not to move forward with the parallel parking as we've just been discussing, we go the no parking route, when we talk about that a little bit, like how far and wide are we talking? How is that going to affect the adjoining property owners if they no longer can have guests parking out in front of their home? Do we have a sense of what that impact will be and how far beyond the subject property do we want to put that in place and how many people would be affecting?
Yeah, Mr. Erickson, I think certainly that is a component of this, right, is to, okay, especially if we don't allow it, there's going to be temptation to just park beyond the signs, and we can all envision what that would look like. I think actually either way, we probably need to discuss that. I mean, because even if there's 6 spots there, you know, there'll be a day when there's a need for 8 spots and 2 more people will want to park someplace. So I think that discussion comes either way, but I think it's exacerbated if we don't have any, those 6 spots there, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think quarter mile or better is probably you know, you have to kind of think about people's appetite for walking.
And then what is that? Does that open that opens the door to anyone could petition to have no parking in front of their home or not along the whole trail, North Shore Trail?
You know, staff and I were talking about this issue today, and just, probably it's a work session topic for another day, right? Because it's really, we got, what, 5+ miles there of road that is, you know, well, why are you talking about this now? Well, not just because of the pizza pub, but because of the improvement, right? The improvement's gonna change the character of that road a little bit, in that we're gonna have wider shoulders, because we're narrowing down the lanes a bit, and just new pavement and all that kind of stuff, right? And so, I think the context of the road will change in some places especially, that this is probably gonna have a larger discussion about the entirety of the road. Are we gonna allow it, not allow it, allow it in certain places but not others? One side of the road, not the other, you know, there'll be plenty of things to batter back and forth. I'm not sure staff can provide you with real great information tonight about the larger picture here. Or more information for you.
So previously living on North Shore and people who have lake properties like that, they're entertaining a lot. And you do use that parking. I just, on top of this, aside from the pizza pub situation, just the domino effect of the problems we'll have and complaints and people upset that they can't on the 4th of July invite 15 people to their home and not be able to park on the road where they've been doing it for 40 or 50 years. And so be ready for that if that's the route the council wants to go, because that's where it will head.
I'm more than happy to make a motion to reopen the discussion on this, if anyone would second it.
I'll second.
So that's just, the motion is for discussion now, and then,
I think it's a motion, I think I heard a motion to reconsider a motion from last week, which, Jolene would be to,
May I just, a little point of order? If we're going to look at reconsidering that agreement, I think the proper term would be to make a motion to do a previously defeated motion.
Okay, I
Not so
will,
much a motion to reconsider, because that would require one of the members from the prevailing vote to make that motion. This is a little bit separate than a motion to reconsider.
and that's what I'm doing as a prevailing member. I'm making a motion to, say that again, Jolene?
So if you're, as one of the prevailing members, you would make a motion to reconsider the parking agreement.
I'll make a motion to reconsider, as one of the prevailing members, to reconsider the parking on, at the Pizza Pub.
second,
I'll second.
and then we take a vote on this, right, Jolene? Yes.
after further discussion.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed.
Great, motion carries. So, any other thoughts on?
I would just like to note that even in the analyst report here, that was on page 213, about like the no parking signs and things like that. They were directed by Public Works to go out and remove the existing no parking signs from the property. So there was no parking at that location before. And again, I think the business kind of overstepped their bounds by putting down aggregate or whatever, and violating some of our ordinances, and it's more or less I beg for forgiveness and ask permission type of thing, I guess, for a lack of a better term. I don't know if that's the proper term or not, but again, with Councilmember Miller saying, I don't want to reward somebody for bad behavior. So I don't want to stick on the same thing, the same subject, and have 3 or 4 meetings over it. I think it's bad government business to be doing things like that, so I'd rather progress down the road and learn from this experience.
So are you suggesting we no park the whole street then, or that's what I'm kind of hung up on, is we do nothing and then it creates more issues. We directed staff to make this agreement. It seemed at the time all but one was in favor of really fixing an issue here, and yes, We can go back and forth. Should the owner have approached the city and handled it differently? Yes, I think we can all agree that. He would probably admit that as well. But here's where we're at. So how can we fix this and make it a better situation for not just that business, but the neighborhood in general? Because if we're gonna no park so far on each side, there's an opportunity where people are gonna continue to park somewhere else. And then that pushes that issue down to other neighbors.
And I think, as to my comment earlier, Mr. Mayor, I think that, obviously, Councilmember Larson, has concerns, and I think everybody has their own thoughts about this issue, probably enough for a workshop topic, and at this point, I think staff has direction on the pizza pub parking issue, and then from there, we can expand this discussion for a larger context going forward, so.
Even though we've opened up this rediscussion, we haven't made any votes to approve this or not approve this. Correct? Still need a motion for that, wouldn't we?
Yes. So with that, is anyone interested in making a motion on this?
I'll make a motion like I did 2 weeks ago that we enter into the agreement with Pizza Pub, the property at 8241 North Shore Trail, to put in place or to pave that, pave way for that parallel parking that they are willing to do at their expense.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
One point of clarification, if I may interject. The motion was if they do it at their expense. The agreement is currently written that they may seek EDA support. Would you like that stricken from the agreement? That requires them to pay for it outright themselves?
No, I'll amend my motion, just the agreement as it is, and let the EDA
Okay,
deal with it.
thank you for the clarification.
I'll second.
We have a motion, second. Is there any further discussion? Jolene, you want to take roll on this vote?
Sure. Councilmember Erickson,
Aye.
Councilmember Larson,
Negative.
Councilmember Miller,
No.
Councilmember Valento,
Aye.
Mayor Roberts.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. All right, so discussion, there's nothing on discussion any further anymore, so staff updates, 10. I don't know who's doing the Q2.
Yeah, it's in your packet. This is something that, since I got here, I've been kind of working with Jessica to refine a little bit and bring forward to you on a regular basis here, but just thought we'd put it in the packet. If the timing doesn't work out, this is something we might just email to the council, but I thought we'd put it in the packet, the timing worked out, so. Anyone had any questions on it, we'd be glad to handle that, but.
Questions? Okay, we'll go into additional staff updates. Jolene, do you have anything for us?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that we've now posted a deputy city clerk position. That's live on our website, will be posted on the League of Minnesota Cities website shortly too. So if you know anyone who's interested in coming and working with us at the city here, please spread the word. We're accepting applications through August 11th.
Abby?
Well, to tail on that, we're still in search of a building official. That is also posted on the city's website and the League of Minnesota Cities. So if you know any building officials out there, please feel free to send them my way, and we'll have some conversations if they're interested. Additionally, I wanted to thank you tonight for accepting the recommendation to hire Steve Gilmore. As noted in the packet, Steve comes to us with more than 10 years of experience with community planning, but more on a federal level. So he's really looking forward to being a part of the Forest Lake community. He'll be joining us next month. Two other updates I wanted to just share with the public. I know I included them in the weekly update for the council last week, but I've been in discussions with the county about the potential use of transportation tax dollars that they have for expansion of the circulator system, New Tracks. Their funding is looking to augment, not to replace the city's funding, but we are discussing just potential expansion options, what that really looks like. I do also know that New Tracks is in conversations with the city of Wyoming's staff too, just about the potential for that regional network system. And then also coming soon before you will be an agreement with Washington County CDA. So some time ago, last fall, we talked about the local affordable housing aid. So that's a new tax that the city is receiving funding for to support our affordable housing efforts. That time, both the Planning Commission and EDA and this council directed me to try to find partners to support single-family rehabilitation as well as rental rehabilitation programs. The county's created a program specifically to help us, so really kind of trying to tee up an agreement that we would give our funding to them, and they would distribute it to the city's residents and landowners, property owners, in the form of low-interest loans. So I'm hoping that we'll get that in front of you in the next month or so, and the county is ready to start administering loans in the city. So we'll really be working to kind of try to get the word out on those.
Chief Peterson.
Yeah, Mayor and City Council members, I just want to publicly thank all of our police officers for last night and today. The fire department and Public Works, they responded to a ton of calls with the weather coming through last night. Power outages, trees down, branches down, and such. So they were all working very, very hard for many, many hours, keeping the city safe.
Captain Hanegraaff, thanks for attending. Do you have anything to add tonight? No, sir. All right. Amanda.
Nothing available for questions.
Ryan?
Sure, Mayor, City Council, just a few updates. The Seal Coat project, we finished that other than the final sweepings. So that work was completed up in the northwest part of the city, kind of north of Broadway and west of 61, and a couple of other roadways that included Apartment Lane and Finley Courts. MnDOT roundabout restriping project. You might see some traffic signs I saw when I came into town that were being set up. There's 3 roundabout locations. They're going to do night work and do restriping at those roundabouts. The first one is starting tonight down in Hugo at 170th and Trunk Highway 61. They anticipate that to take one night to do, and then they're going to proceed the next night, so Wednesday night, to Goodview and Highway 97. They think that'll take one night too. And then they would proceed then to the downtown roundabout at Trunk Highway 61 and Broadway starting Thursday night. They thought 2 to 3 nights with that, so they'll do Thursday, Friday. If they don't get it done Friday night, they will go into Saturday. If weather comes into play again, they know that they're not allowed to do it on a Tuesday night because of the events that we have in the park Tuesday night, so we don't interfere with the traffic, because the roadway intersections will be closed 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. when they complete that work. North Shore Trail project has proceeded through phases 6 and 5. We got the base course down, first lift of bituminous, ran into a lot of soft spots that had to be corrected, so we'll definitely be reevaluating the project budget and bringing some updates back on that. A lot of contingencies built in the project, but we obviously have run into a lot poor soils than anticipated from the geotech reports, the material that we thought might be there. But we're paved with the base course up to Jason Avenue. Right now we're in phase 4. So far, so good. Been better material in phase 4. So hopefully the good news continues as we continue traveling west. Phase 4, though, is in between Inman and Jason Avenue. And then we'll have phase 1 and 3 left on North Shore Trail. Phase 2 is actually part of the local street improvement project that we combined with the project. That's Hayward Avenue. So that's why you won't often hear as a phase 2 referred to as along North Shore Trail. So as that project proceeds, again, if you're not signed up for the email blast updates, we have that that are updated quite frequently. I've subscribed myself just so I can see when they're coming into real time. Also, Trunk Highway 97. There's been a lot of questions with that on the staging, but they're still on schedule when they would have certain portions of that roadway reopened. The next portion that they're looking to get reopened would be from Everton Avenue, then all the way back to Highway 61, middle of August, to have that open. And then from Everton to Hornsby, that still is anticipated to be opened mid to late October. And then once obviously that's open, then the whole roadway will be open until they start phase 2 in 2026. That's all I got, unless you have any questions.
Mark,
No updates, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Miller,
Nothing, no thanks.
Councilmember Lento,
Nothing from me tonight.
Member Larson.
No updates tonight.
I just have a few comments. Just, we have a number of us participated in the Chamber Golf Tournament, so that was a great connection to get to network with business owners. I think the team, the Bolton and Mink / city minister team probably beat the two council members here, but that's not real tough to do. So, so I appreciate everyone willing to make that move to Tuesday. Another advantage of 6 o'clock meetings at 7. I invite you to come down to the park afterwards, so you have time to do that, to enjoy Arts in the Park this evening. And so with no other business coming forward, the meeting is adjourned.